The New England colonies were run by a freeholder society. This was a society in which the government gave land to communities and not just individual people. So a huge plot of land such as this one would be given to a community, and the community would then divide the land amongst their residents. But as you can see, the land was not divided equally. So although the idea of a freeholder society gave the impression of equality, it was not totally equal. However, the land was still more evenly distributed than land in the South. New Englanders tried to stay away from allowing people to monopolize the land because they didn't want competition between individuals. Instead, they were aiming for their lives to be shaped by social harmony and spiritual grace. Politics in New England were like politics in any of the other colonies, run by the wealthy. The government was primarily occupied by wealthy white males, and thus it was elite white men who controlled the government. But even more than that was the fact that the people who held the most power were also the ones who were very grounded in the Puritan religion. Therefore, it was a mix of religion and politics that formed the New England government and its policies. The Puritan society believed that men and women were spiritually equal and that women were necessary for the economy, but women were still not equal to men socially or politically. For that reason, anyone who was to be a politician had to be a male. This is George Orwell from the Massachusetts Bay Colony. The Massachusetts Bay Colony was a self-governing colony based on religion and the Puritan work ethic. The colony believed that the Puritan society must be unified and act like a single individual seeking God. George Orwell answered to the majority of the white male population, especially those who were strong Puritans. This worked well because the people allowed to vote were those who were white males that owned land. He was a lawyer who went to study at Yale University and graduated with excellent scores. He believed that the white male landowners were superior to all others and also feared a slave revolt, despite the lesser numbers of them in the North than in the South. He believed that the freeholder society was an excellent way to manage the land and that keeping white male property owners in charge was a priority. This is Harvey Kent from the Rhode Island Colony. The colony of Rhode Island was a self-governing colony based on democracy and freedom of religion. The colony also established a separation of church and state so as to allow for greater acceptance of various religions. Harvey Kent answered to the white male landowners who were there for their religious freedom. The people allowed to vote were anyone and everyone who was a white male, since the colony was partially founded on the belief of political democracy. Harvey Kent went to college and graduated at the top of his class, and then became a wealthy merchant who traded various items dependent on the season. He believed strongly in religious freedom and religious tolerance, and that everyone had the right to practice their religion separate from the state. This is Ben Jones from the Plymouth Colony. The colony of Plymouth was also a self-governing colony based on religion, just like the Massachusetts Bay Colony. The colony believed that the Native American village in which they settled had been cleared out for them by God. Since the Plymouth Colony was a place for pilgrims, they were the ones who voted. All white males were eligible to vote in the Plymouth Colony. The Plymouth Colony established that their government would be run by representatives, and that those representatives would be chosen annually by the free men. Ben Jones answered to the pilgrims in the Plymouth Colony and was a man who traded fish and furs for a living. Ben Jones believed that justice should be equally delivered to all people and that all trials should be tried by a jury. Although all three of these men were different people and politicians for different colonies, each of them would face similar questions from the colonists.